Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, to today's Peace Bell ceremony at UN headquarters at a wonderful late summer day. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to observe International Day of Peace, which was declared by the United Nations General Assembly in 1981. This year's Peace Bell ceremony is taking place a couple of days ahead of 21st September, when the International Day of Peace is formally observed around the world. A special welcome to the Secretary General of the United Nations and to Madame Ban, as well as to the President of the General Assembly and Mrs. Cherian, as well as to the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. We'd also like to welcome the new permanent representative of Japan to the United Nations, Ambassador Yoshikawa and Madame Yoshikawa. We are delighted to be joined today by the United Nations Messengers of Peace, Dr. Jane Goodall, and by Monique Coleman, the UN Foundation Girl Up champion. And finally, a very warm welcome to the many permanent representatives, special guests, students, colleagues, and our young musicians. To begin the program, we would like to invite you, the wonderful US singers and musicians, to perform for us. Opening song. I now have the distinct honor to invite the Secretary General of the United Nations to address our gathering. The Secretary General will ring the peace bell after his remarks. Mr. Secretary General, please.
Mr. President of the General Assembly, Ambassador Yoshikawa, Permanent Representative of Japan, distinguished members of the Diplomatic Corps, honorable messengers of peace and goodwill ambassadors, distinguished guests, dear colleagues, including the United Nations singers, dear students and children, good morning, and thank you for all joining us for this Peace Bell ceremony. The International Day of Peace is a time for reflection, a day when we reiterate our belief in non-violence and call for a global ceasefire. We ask people everywhere to observe a minute of silence at noon local time. We honor those killed in conflict and survivors who live with a daily trauma and pain. and we call for combatants to lay down their arms and end hostilities. Perhaps nowhere in the world is this more desperately needed than in Syria. The death and suffering has gone on too long. I repeat my call to all parties and their supporters to work for a peaceful resolution to the conflict through negotiation. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this year's observance is Education for Peace. When Malala Yousafzai came to the United Nations in July, she said, "One teacher, one book, one pen can change the world." These are our most powerful weapons. That is why I launched the Global Education First initiative last year. Every girl and every boy deserves to receive a quality education and learn the values that will help them to grow up to be global citizens in tolerant communities that respect diversity. Governments and development partners are working hard to meet this goal, but we must do more, much more. We need to accelerate momentum in countries with the greatest needs, such as those affected by conflict. I have traveled to many war zones. I have visited families in refugee camps. The plea is often the same: education first. The UN family, including UNICEF, UNESCO, and the World Food Programme, is working in conflict and post-conflict environments. We are building schools, developing curricula, training teachers, and providing nourishing breakfast and school lunches. These initiatives can transform the lives of children and help address the root causes of conflict. On this International Day of Peace, let us pledge to teach our children the value of tolerance and mutual respect. When we put education first, we can reduce poverty and end hunger, end wasted potential, and build stronger and better societies for all. After a moment of silence, I will ring the peace bell. Let us pledge to amplify the message it carries, so it can echo in the sound of school bells around the world. Let us commit to peace everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, may I invite all of you to observe a minute of silence. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. And now I have the distinct honor to request the President of the General Assembly to address the gathering, and the President will then also proceed to ring the peace bell. Mr. President, please.